Hey there, gang. Welcome back to another episode of Tabletop Topics. This November, Dark Horse Comics will be releasing a new ongoing D&D series featuring a wizard who has been stripped of his power. That is Mordenkainen. And that's almost exactly what happened to the man who created him. Gary Gygax was born on July 27th, 1938. This video is going to be going up on July 27th, 2026, his birthday. Now, this will be the first in a series of lore dive videos into notable D&D characters that I'll be doing. However, this one's a little different because its own history between Mordenkainen and Gary Gygax is so interconnected, it's hard to mention one without bringing up the other. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is a Greyhawk wizard showing up in a comic series that is set in the Forgotten Realms that Gygax didn't write? And by the end, you'll know why. His first appearance, however, is in the first edition of the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook in 1978. Not a character sheet, not a write-up, just his name attached to Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound and Mordenkainen's sword. Fast forward a little bit, and we now have the Circle of Eight, being Gary Gygax's stable of player characters that he created, and they have all pooled their loot together from adventuring, and they're building the Obsidian Citadel. Awesome name for a castle. It is a well-fortified position that has an octagonal design, one side for each member of the Circle of Eight. Notable members include Bigby, Rigby, Zagyg, and Yrag, which is Gary spelled backwards. So we know that Gary had a thing for using unique names, we'll say. A little bit more on that later, though. And the Circle of Eight decided to make the Obsidian Citadel behind enemy lines. Because why go out for days at a time adventuring when you can build your castle in the worst neighborhood on Earth and have all of the loot come directly to you? Pretty brilliant if you ask me. You may have noticed that I also mentioned Bigby, who has his own name attached to a spell, Bigby's Hand. And a lot of these spells that have that possessive apostrophe were actual players with characters in the original founding of D&D itself. So we've got Mordenkainen and Bigby, both Gary Gygax's characters. We've got Melf's Acid Arrow, Melf played by Gary's son Luke. And again, another very creative name, reportedly, or supposedly rather, he was a male elf, so they saw M. Elf on the character sheet and named it Melf. You gotta love it. The simplicity of what actually makes a D&D character is very fitting of the game that we play. So the demigod wizard that we all know at this point, who created spells that could unravel magic, such as Disjunction, which you may be familiar with through the Honor Among Thieves movie, didn't start as a demigod wizard. He was a level 1 wizard playing at somebody's table on a regular Monday night. Imagine showing up and playing with your friends and coming to find that one of those characters would go on to influence all of D&D lore for its entire lifespan. That character was made for Gary to play, and in 1985, he lost the rights to that character. June 1985, the book Unearthed Arcana is released, and in it is Mordenkainen's Disjunction, a spell that destroys all magical items, relics, and artifacts within 30 feet. You may be familiar with it as the Helm of Disjunction in the Honor Among Thieves movies that was released. In October 1985, the Bloom brothers sell their controlling stakes in TSR to Lorraine Williams, TSR being the company that produced and published all of the Dungeons & Dragons books up to that point. October 22nd, 1985, there's a board meeting called. Gary Gygax was not told about it. They called for his resignation as CEO, chairman, and president of TSR. With that decision, he loses the rights to most of the named characters in Dungeons & Dragons, Mordenkainen included. In 1991, TSR releases From the Ashes, and in it, Mordenkainen is elevated to the level of the most powerful wizard in all of Dungeons & Dragons. Mordenkainen is recast as the arbiter of balance, not having any moral absolutes and being staunchly opposed to moral absolutism, a philosophy that Gygax did not write himself. 20 years after he was ousted from TSR, he rebuilt the castle that he created originally in the Greyhawk setting, using the name of the wizard, the Mad Mage as they called him, that built it in the Greyhawk setting itself, Zagyg. Once again, his name spelled nearly backwards, Ernest Gary Gygax. Mordenkainen was also doing things in between 1985 and 2005. He notably was making appearances periodically in the Wizards 3 column in Dungeons magazine, penned by Ed Greenwood. These were sessions between Mordenkainen, the Greyhawk wizard, and Elminster of the Forgotten Realms setting, Ed Greenwood being the author of the Forgotten Realms books. And that brings us into the 5th edition era. In 2016, the Curse of Strahd module, we are reintroduced to Mordenkainen, but this time in Barovia. Mordenkainen goes to battle Strahd in his own demiplane of Barovia, and Mordenkainen loses. He loses his staff, his ring, and his sanity after Strahd throws him over to Sir Falls. And he is rescued by not all-powerful wizards or high-level adventurers, but a regular group of player characters, level 5 characters, saving a demigod wizard. We now have Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which Mordenkainen did not release intentionally. It is notes that were transcribed by his apprentice, and in the book himself he says, quote, "It is riddled with his notes." He then goes to Avernus. He is referenced only briefly, but he is trying to unravel some infernal magics. In Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse, it is essentially a combination of Volo's Guide to Monsters and Tome of Foes, but it reorganizes the stat blocks and things like that. The next time we actually see Mordenkainen is in Vecna, Eye of Ruin in 2024, where he is teamed up with two other wizards, so a new Wizards 3, so to speak. And in this case, it is Mordenkainen, Tasha, and Alestriel. Now, in 2026, Dark Horse Comics at San Diego Comic-Con released a statement saying that they will be publishing an ongoing D&D series featuring Mordenkainen as a severely D-level wizard who is teaming up with Volo and Tasha. The thing that Gary Gygax created that ended up surviving was a character that he loved and played for 12 plus years, 20 something levels. It was him getting together at a table with his friends and telling stories that were larger than life. And that's the core of what D&D is. That was the gift that he gave to us. Being able to make time to go see your friends, have some food, have some laughs, make silly jokes, just being down-to-earth folks turning a mundane Monday into something magical. So, if you guys have created a character who has outlived a campaign, somebody that you're talking about years later, let me know in the comments. I love hearing about that stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe, do the algorithm things that help out the channel. And if you want more tabletop gaming content, you can always check out my Substack and website. The links are going to be in the description box below. And until next time, may the Baba Yaga not take you this night.